Testing 1, 2. All right, check your engrader. Okay. So what's going on, guys? Donnie Rouse here, and today we are going to talk about patterns. So without further ado, hi guys, my name is Donnie Rouse, and you're listening to the podcast One Life. Controlling, I forgot what controlling forces. Okay, so here we go. Controlling forces. The things controlling our lives are literally the patterns that we repeat day in and day out. So in order to grasp and take control, take the reins of your life, the most important thing you must do is learn how to change your habits. But it requires you to first become aware of your habits. I was watching a Tony Robbins YouTube commercial that came on during a video. So at first I was a little perturbed when the video came on. I was like, come on, just give me the damn video. It seems like I get more videos from Tony Robbins than I do from any other advertiser on YouTube. But for good reason, because that is the type of content that I'm most interested in. And looking at this, catching myself in this pattern of kind of feeling disturbed and bothered by it, I go, well, wait a minute, let me listen to because it's always a good message. And on that message, he was talking about patterns. He goes, listen, your life is run by patterns. And if you want a different quality of life, you have to change those patterns, essentially. And this is nothing new that I had not heard before. I've heard it a million times over. But for some reason, in the context of that day, it made more sense. Hence why I'm on here speaking about it. So earlier in the day, I went to see, I'm not really sure what you even call him. Maybe he's a naturopath, spiritual healer kind of thing. And while we were there, we were doing this thing he introduced me to this practice called EMDR. So if you're not familiar with EMDR, it's this eye movement. So how it works is you would think of something that stirs up an emotion. In my case, I was thinking of fear because I was talking about my business and all the uncertainty that comes with product, putting food beverage out there, and looking for suppliers and looking for producers, all these different things, and it was making me fearful. So my friend Chris pulled out his computer. He says, here, check this out. He put it on, and literally it was just a green dot going left to right, left to right, left to right. So he said, I don't want you to do anything but just follow this with your eye. So I'm looking at it, following with my eye, left to right. He said, just focus, keep focusing on it. Don't think about anything, just focus on the dot. Focusing left, right, left, right. After about 15 seconds, he stops the video and he says, how do you feel about what's the emotional charge of that thing that you were just worried about or fearful about? And I said, I can't even think about it. And he started laughing. So what happened? Was it magic that suddenly just erased this fear that I had? Because I'll be honest with you, I don't really think that the fear is gone, but what happened in that moment was that he broke a pattern. And that's exactly what this program was doing. And he suggested, he said, listen, every time you start to have that emotion, flick this on, do it for 15 seconds, measure the emotion. And if it's still ranking pretty high, do it again and measure the emotion. We did it for a different emotion as well, and it took several times. But after a while, the emotional intensity started to go down. Again, what exactly was happening there? It was nothing but breaking a pattern. So how can you apply this to your everyday life? I'll tell you, this morning, let's start with last night. So I hadn't been sleeping really well at night. I would get kind of once I laid my head on the pillow, my mind would start racing and I would literally feel the entire sensation in my body. In the middle of the night, I woke up and I said, every day in every way, I'm feeling better and better. Every day in every way, I'm feeling better and better. And I felt like this calming effect coming over me because words are power. Words create your reality. Words create an image in your mind, which gives you thought and focus. And then when I woke up in the morning, rather than kind of get out of bed and just kind of slug and be like, oh my God, I do not feel like waking up right now, I jumped out of bed and had this kind of burst of emotion because, again, going back to a Tony Robbins seminar, he had mentioned something like that. So all these things were kind of flooding back in my mind. And it is because of the things that are uncomfortable. You don't want to get out of bed in the morning. But how do the people who do get out of bed, like, what are their rituals? Maybe it literally is just a ritual. So I jumped out of bed really quick because you want to do what is uncomfortable. Because when you force yourself to do uncomfortable things, you will start to automatically go there. So I got up, I jolted up, and then all of a sudden I felt more awake just because of this fast response that I put into my body. And again, it just got me thinking about, while I'm here sharing this with you, is just that, well, literally, we are nothing but a culmination of patterns. Which sounds, it sounds kind of crappy, but at the same time, if that's true, then that means we can set up ourselves for success to take action on anything just by thinking about what it is in a different way and choosing a different response. So what is it in your life? What are the emotions that you maybe habitually feel, the patterns you run through on a daily basis? Maybe it's you see someone's face and all of a sudden, literally, it sparks anger. That's a pattern. So I want you to just look throughout your day and start to notice the patterns, because that's the first step. The first step is being aware of the patterns. And sometimes just being aware of your patterns is enough to break them. But for the times where noticing the patterns is not enough, the second step is to break the pattern, or I should say interrupt the pattern. So interrupting the pattern is similar to what I did with the EMDR. Saying, okay, this is it. Now I put this little video on, and I'll explain shortly what that video, exactly what it did. It's just changing a pattern. It's saying, instead of doing this and responding this way, now do this and do this. Or it's like, do this, but then you kind of scratch the record and you can't go back to it, right? Have you ever been mad at somebody and then someone says something or someone interrupts you and then you try to go back to the conversation and you can't even remember what you were talking about, and all of a sudden all that anger that you had just seemed to kind of float away because you don't remember what you're talking about? It's the same thing, right? All we're doing is we're breaking a pattern. So breaking the pattern can be literally as easy when you see yourself going through it, putting your finger up your nose and singing a song or doing something silly. Because when it makes you laugh, you're scratching that disc. Every time you replay that thing in your mind, that pattern, it's almost like you're switching it up slightly to the point where you do it enough and all of a sudden you can't even recognize the pattern. And then you think about how do you want to respond in that situation? Right? If I think of, sometimes I get shy approaching a woman or a girl, I like to say, because I consider myself young. And then there's other times where I'm like, you know what, 1, 2, go. And I just literally will start walking up to someone and start talking to them. That's a pattern too, right? So replace the pattern. Think of what it is how do you want to respond? And then when you have the courage, respond that way. That is all I've got for you. I hope you enjoyed this little morning cup of wisdom and knowledge for your day. I'm curious as to what patterns do you notice in your day? Share them in the comments. Send me an email. I would love to hear about it. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you have any questions, comments, or simply want to subscribe, you can visit my website at www.donnyrouse.com. Again, www.donnyraus.com. Have a beautiful and blessed day. God bless, and I will see you again soon.